Welcome to the Writing 2 presentation, Introduction to Proposals. You can follow along with this presentation by opening your How to Write Anything book to page 160. In this presentation, we'll briefly talk about what a proposal is and the types of proposals that you may encounter as a writer. What is a proposal? Well, proposals are documents written to solve problems or perhaps to pursue an opportunity. Typically, when you're talking about a proposal, the idea is you're going to initiate an action or change, and you're going to try to convince your readers that they should support that. Our textbook brings up a few different types of proposals, trial balloon, manifesto, and visual proposal. We'll talk a little bit about that in this introduction presentation, and we're also going to discuss how we'll approach it in this class. We're going to go more of a real-world and professional model, and we're going to talk more about how to implement the solution. Our book doesn't really talk a lot about that, but that seems a lot more important to people who might actually have to vote on or fund your project. And then we will discuss professional versus grant proposals, just so you're aware of an important type of proposal that's out there that you may need to know about later on in your career. Our book references trial balloon as a type of proposal. Basically, the idea that this comes from an old term. You can look it up and find the Wikipedia version here of what this means. But basically, this is when somebody sends a balloon out to see what the weather and the winds are going to do with it. And really, you're sending out something into the winds of public opinion or the winds of your own organization's opinion and try to see, just kind of test and see what people are going to think about it. You'll see this during the political campaigns where somebody will say, well, I'm running for president and there's a leak that possibly this person could be considered as a vice president. That way they can see if people are like, yay, that sounds awesome, or no, that person's horrible, and kind of get feedback from their base and the people who would support them. We have a picture down below of a mock press conference that we did in a journalism class that I teach, where we had somebody who is a coach here get out there and answer questions and things like that from journalism students. And that's part of what this is all about. Is sometimes people will do that to the press. They'll leak a little bit out, or they'll say a little bit of something in a press conference and just try to see what the reaction is as people hear about it and learn more. If you work on a trial balloon proposal at some point in your academic or professional career, you're not going to focus so much on the practical details of how to implement it or even how feasible it is. A lot of times people will say in their responses how feasible they think it is. If you want to see an example of this, you can read in our book this article, How Binging Became the New College Sport. And in this, someone provides an awful lot of data, but they do the idea of lowering the drinking age, and they don't really talk about how that would be implementing. They just discuss, what led into their thinking of why this might be a good idea, and they just kind of put it out there without saying, here's how we would actually do it, or here's how we would test if it does solve the problem. So that's one type of proposal that you may end up working on later on in your career. The book also lists manifesto as a type of proposal, and this is sort of iffy in my opinion as the instructor. A manifesto tends to be more about what somebody believes and more about what their values are, but there is an element of proposal to it. I see why they put it in here in the book. Sometimes in first year writing, we'll have students do a type of a manifesto assignment to better help them express their beliefs or ideas about something. So if you're using this as a type of proposal, usually part of your proposal would be about, well, I think people should do this, or I think we should do this. But there would also be a very strong element talking more about the philosophy behind it, the beliefs, the values, the motives, and why you would want to do that. One example might be technology timeout, where somebody writes a lot about their own experience about taking a time out from technology, and then toward the end this author discusses why they think it would be a good idea for other people. So it does have an aspect of a manifesto to it. Visual proposal is another type of proposal the book lists, and this one relies heavily on images to provide ideas and suggestions. And this is where you're going to incorporate those pictures and infographics with a specific intention of pushing people toward, oh, maybe we should do this. Again, this oftentimes does not include a whole lot of information about implementation. It's more to suggest or propose or question something. Their example that they list here is Lone Bone, and that is satire, which we're not going to talk a lot about that, but sometimes proposals come out in a satirical way where somebody proposes something that's clearly outlandish and ridiculous to make a point and try to nudge people toward acting in a certain way. And you can see how that works with this particular example. A grant proposal is not really discussed much by our book. They bring it up a little bit. It's a formal written request for money or technical assistance, and that generally is sent to readers at either a government agency or a private organization, like a foundation or corporation that provides money for things. That might be like the Bill Gates Foundation, or Eli Lilly is a big one in Indiana that provides grant money for a lot of education and other projects. And there's a whole system of doing this. Some places just have you fill out a form. Others want you to follow a specific format. I took an entire graduate level class on this, and we used to do this for writing too. There are a lot of moving pieces. If you're really super interested and want to do something like this for your project, let me know. I'll help you out. But I want you to at least be aware of what this is. We don't do this anymore. I'm not going to discuss why just for sake of time. I'm happy to have that conversation in person. But if you're like, wow, I want to work for a nonprofit or an education organization, and I would love to learn how to do a grant proposal, contact me and I'll be glad to help you with that, and we can work on your project that way. For our approach in class, we're going to follow more of a structure that's applicable to a lot of different settings, and kind of keep it kind of general but also very professional. So we're going to use a structure where we define the need or the opportunity, and then we propose a solution to that. Then we discuss how that will be implemented. In other words, what steps are needed to make it happen. And then we'll have some additional pieces to make that look more professional, an intro page, conclusion, and then a bibliography. We'll have entire presentations about more of these aspects, but this is just a basic introduction so you know where we're going with this. Thanks for watching, everybody. Most of our information for this particular slide came from our book, but I will be posting more references and web pages and other resources regarding types of proposals on our course website. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.